On Fox News Alert now, the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine urging Americans to shelter in place.
Explosions rocking central Kyiv and across Ukraine in apparent missile strikes following months of calm.
Here to react, Piers Morgan, host of Piers Morgan Uncensored on Fox Nation. Piers, good morning to you. What is your reaction to this latest round of attacks in not only Kyiv, but we're also hearing about explosions in Lviv as well, all the way in the west. What's your reaction to this, and what should the president do about it?
Well, my reaction is horror, but I'm not surprised. You know, Vladimir Putin has been on the back foot now in this war. He's been losing this war. The Ukrainian people, driven by their President Zelensky, have shown remarkable resilience, and they fought back incredibly strongly. So there was always going to be a moment when a wounded beast, Putin, was going to show us his real colors. And I think that has started today with this it's a blatant mass terror attack. That's all you can call it. He has launched a series of missiles all over Ukraine, targeting multiple cities. I was in Kyiv several months ago, very near to where several of these missiles have landed today. These are residential areas in the main. These are innocent women, children, going about their business, who are now living in absolute terror again. Some have been killed today, some have been wounded. As to what should be done, I just think the United States has a call to make here, as does my own country of the UK. What do we do when you have a psychopathic dictator like Putin, who is now lawlessly attacking an entire sovereign democratic country, who reacts to Ukraine trying to defend its own breach, which was originally put there by the Russians, but defending its own previous territory, Crimea. They're trying to reclaim their own territory. And by doing that, Putin calls them terrorists, and then he launches a series of terror attacks. I think the world, the West, has a humanitarian duty to the Ukrainian people, a military duty to them, and a moral duty. Because frankly, if we're not prepared to stand up for the Ukrainian people, then what democracy and freedom are we prepared to stand up for?
Piers, think about the humiliation of a man who prides himself on being a strong man, takes his shirt off, hops on a horse. He's got this badass army, and he's getting his butt kicked everywhere. His generals are being fired. His people don't want to be drafted. They're leaving the country rather than put on a uniform. And his soldiers are so confused and untrained with weapons that were basically from the 1980s. He's been exposed.
Yeah, he has been exposed, but never underestimate a wounded animal. Putin remains in charge of a massive military force. He has 6,000 nuclear weapons. We don't know about his mental stability. But I've always felt from the start of this war, not a conflict, it's a war, that at some stage we are going to have to engage with this guy. Because if he gets what he wants in Ukraine, if he simply seizes any land and territory he wants and then declares it with fake referenda Russian territory, if he does this and gets away with it, he won't stop. He will then try and expand back to the original Soviet Union.
Question.
And so, again, at what point do we say enough? I think President Biden's been very supportive of Zelensky and his efforts in terms of providing military hardware. I think it should be redoubled, not just from America. You shouldn't just be the lone helpers here. The UK has been very helpful. Other European countries have to step up. This is a warring Europe in our lifetime. And the previous time a dictator tried to do this was 1939, Adolf Hitler. And we rose up as a world and we repelled him. We need to have the same determination and resilience now.
Indeed, because the people of Ukraine need that. Watch Piers Morgan Uncensored every day, Fox Nation weeknights at 4:30 p.m. He's a very busy guy. Piers, thank you very much for joining us live from UK.
In New York next week. I'm going to be live, I think, in your studio. You'll be delighted to hear.
We'll save you a spot on the couch.
Hey, Piers, you know
it's a new couch, too.
Piers, you know it's not free, right?
His slot. You don't mind, Brian, do you?
No, not at all. But you know that if you have to sublet from us. You just can't come waltzing in here and take over a studio. There's nothing free. We're going to take your currency.
It's going to be mayhem in there. You brace yourselves.
Hurricane Piers Morgan heading our way. Thank you very much, sir.
It's going to be great.
Thanks, Piers.